Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Florida Daily Show. I'm your host, Lindsay Randall. So happy to be with you here today. Very thankful to be joined by our special guest and live and live here in the free state of Florida, which we love. So wanted to introduce our dear friend, Dr. Ed Moore, who is President Emeritus of the Independent Colleges and Universities of Florida. So welcome, Dr. Moore. We're so happy to have you.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Wonderful day in this great state.
It is, isn't it? We always love it. We're just happier. I used to live in Northern Virginia, and those people up there, they were miserable people. Here in the sunny state of Florida, we love it. So
I can one up you. I lived in Northern Illinois.
Oh, yeah, you definitely did. Well, I lived in DC, like the DC area, so I don't know which is worse.
Pretty close. Yeah.
Well, if you're new here to the Florida Daily Show, welcome. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Florida Daily Show. It's called FloridaDailyShow.com. That's our website, Florida Daily Show, FloridaDaily.com. And so click on the link to check out our shows, and you can subscribe and get all the latest and greatest on there. And Dr. Moore is there with us quite frequently, so we're happy to have you here today. Wanted to talk with you about something that it's a story that's unfolding in the state. Would really love your take on it, because it could have some real consequences for, Floridians, especially families and parents of school-age children. So a recent report I saw from the Tampa Bay Times that they reported that Florida lawmakers, obviously, they haven't passed a budget yet. They haven't finalized the state budget, which they have to go back into special session for. And therefore, they're talking about school cuts, and the cuts could impact school districts around the state. And as someone who is involved in several charter schools across the state, it also makes me very concerned and worried. Obviously, we're in the black on our, the schools that I'm involved in. So I feel real confident, but there's a lot of school districts out there that aren't. So wanted to ask you about, your opinion on this and what you see is going to happen in the next several weeks with a special session.
Yeah, well, we're in April, and obviously this fiscal year will end the end of June. Just July 1's a new fiscal year. The legislature will be done by then. But for hiring for the fall, a lot of school districts now are kind of up in the air about hiring new teachers, how many teachers they need. Couple that with across the state and almost every school district, declining enrollment. There's just declining enrollment, and they haven't adjusted to that yet. All I keep seeing is stories about school boards meeting going, gee, what do we do? We're not going to get as much state money. Even when we know what the budget is, we won't know how much until the number of students start showing up, and that number of students is declining. Students are now using, in Florida, you've got choice, heavy choice here, where you take a full voucher and you can go anywhere you want basically with that voucher. Well, it makes it tough to plan, but I'm not seeing, I hate to be that critical, but I'm really not seeing that kind of level of planning going on in these school districts. They have to come to grips with the reality. They're going to have fewer students moving forward, and it will probably continue for a number of years. They better get busy trying to figure out what they're going to do. They can't blame the state and say, we don't know how much money we're going to get this year. They don't know how much money they're going to get anyway, because until they know enrollment numbers, real enrollment numbers, they really don't know what the reimbursement's going to be from the state. It's a dilemma. It's tough, but they got to get busy and try to do it.
Right. Well, and you don't really know those numbers until the first day of school. And even then, so that's August. So you might approve a budget, but then you don't know who's going to show up until the first day of school. And even then, that can fluctuate. You might have some kids that come, or they come late, or they come for a couple of days, and then, mom and dad get into a different school for their kids, and then they bounce. So it's really tough for them. I agree. It's tough for us as a charter school, any school. We are constantly kind of in a little bit of an influx. We have a really great retention, but at the same time, it's challenging, I'm assuming, because, this is all new territory for them. And we're used to it at a charter school.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a free market kind of a thing going on out there, where people, when they truly do have choice, trying to determine who's actually going to show up. I spent a lot of years in higher education and watching institutions trying to figure out what's their enrollment going to be, because they have that same dilemma and always have had that same dilemma. They get this many applications, they accept this many, and then this many actually show up when it's time to enroll. You've got to try to forecast and adjust your budgets for that. And the K-12 or pre-K-12 school systems in Florida, the 67 counties, are not used to that yet. They just aren't. And I say again, I'm just not seeing them. There's not that sense of urgency. I mean, I see headlines of different school boards are discussing, well, we're just going to have to increase taxes. Well, try to sell that to the voters that,
Right.
We're serving less people, but we're going to charge you more money for the ones we are serving. That's not going to go very well. They're going
Right.
to have to get some budget parameters and move forward realistically, knowing historically they kind of knew. I mean, like you just said, until the first day of enrollment, you really don't know everybody that's going to show up, but it's going to be within a certain window. Well, that window is wide open right now, and we really don't know. You really don't know, and you can see growth in the charter schools and growth in the quality private schools. It's happening K-12. It's always happened in higher ed. Maybe they could take a lesson from some of the higher ed institutions how to forecast enrollment and how to deal with missing your forecast. What do you do?
Right.
So it's an interesting dilemma. I think over time it'll be best for the students of Florida and their families. Having choice is a good thing. I've always been an advocate for choice in higher education. It works. State doesn't fund it adequately, but it works. And now we're going to see the same thing happening in K-12.
Well, I think that's a really good perspective, that the higher institutions, they've already, the colleges and universities, they've had to do this for years and years.
Yeah.
So this wouldn't be a shock to your system at all.
No.
If this news came to you, and at that level. But what would you recommend? I guess there's two questions. What would you recommend to advice to school districts, number one, in this kind of influx? And then what do you think the trend is going to be over the next, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 years, as people kind of settle in to this new system with the universal education, the savings accounts that people have now? What do you think is going to happen in the long run, like 3 to 5 years long run?
I think you're going to see a growth in the non-public sector, a continuous growth, probably on a straight timeline as people adjust to that. And a lot of people still aren't aware that they can take that voucher from the public system and shop it around and go other places. Part of it's transportation and figuring out how am I going to get my kids to cross the county or across the city to another different school. Urban school districts around the country have dealt with this for a long time, where in states and cities where you had strong parochial systems where students made that choice, but they were paying for it and still made that choice. Now in Florida, the state's helping them to make that choice by giving us a very substantial voucher towards any private school tuition. Makes a big difference. It's just going to take a little bit of while, but that period of time, that adjustment time, is going to give the public institutions or the public school boards time to adjust to it as well. And they're going to have to start figuring, okay, how do we market? How do we make our schools more appealing? How do we get people to stay? How do we get people to come back to us that have left? I'm not seeing those kind of discussions yet. It's just not happening. It's right now where it's sort of a panic mode, like, oh my God, we're losing money and we're not getting as much money as we got before, without really looking at the why are you not getting as much money as you got before.
Right. And I mean, in my mind, I think, well, this is a simple kind of economic system here, and it's supply and demand. And when the demand is stronger for, let's say, in my case, a classical school, then you're going to have an influx of students that want to apply for that school. And, the market is dictating so much of this, which to me only makes more competition, and it will result in, I think, better schools, better education, better education in the long run for our kids. But, you know, I do want to go back to this budget delay, because that's what the Florida legislature has to do, like by law. That's the one thing they have to do in their legislative session at some point. So is this, I remember last year there was a budget delay as well, and it got passed kind of in the 11th hour, I remember. But is this unusual for Florida? Is this typical? Because I wasn't, you know, I'm not really sure. I wasn't paying attention for a long time. So I just would love your advice on this.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've been watching it for way too long. I'm getting pretty damn old. So
you look great. Okay.
Yeah, well, you look great. That's because I've been out in the sun today, and it kind of cheered me up.
That's vitamin D.
Yeah, it's a cyclical. I mean, sometimes the House and Senate get along great. Sometimes, not so good. Sometimes the governor gets along with one chamber over the other. And sometimes all three chambers, or the governor and the two chambers, get along fine and they get things done. It's not scary to me if you've been involved in the process. It's pretty normal. You just take it in stride. They're talking. The way the budget develops, you've got key players in both chambers, in the House and the Senate, that are talking and meeting. When you see in the news headlines, legislature is not coming back for 3 weeks and it's getting closer to June 30th and all this, they're talking, and the staffs are meeting every day, and they've got a long list of things that they're in conflict over, conflict being kind of a strong word there, but things that they're in disagreement over, maybe. And it may be, we want to put another $1 million into this program and you don't, and you want to put $1 million into that program and we don't, and you find a way to compromise. You find a way to settle, and they'll settle item by item and get them finally settled out to where the people that are doing the negotiations now, which are the chairman of the various committees that deal with the budget, they'll bump up issues. They bump it up to leadership, and then it becomes down to where the speaker has his wish list and the Senate president has his wish list, and they get it resolved. And circling around all that on the outside is the governor and his staff trying to get their priorities funded and the things they want funded, working with both sides. It's a great game. It's great to play in. I played in it a lot of years, and it's fun and it's productive, and it, iron sharpens iron. I mean, after a while, when you're rubbing on each other, good ideas come out of that. And so I'm never panicked by it. I've seen legislatures go to you talk about the 11th hour. I've seen them go, they want to adjourn at midnight, and it's 11:58. And the speaker's got the gavel ready, and they've got 3 more bills they got to pass.
Oh, wow.
And they get it done. And so in the old days, they used to be able to cheat before electronic clocks and all that. They just moved the hands of the clock back.
No way.
Yeah. So it's 11 o'clock again. Oh, it's 11 o'clock again.
Magically.
But they would get it done. We will have a budget. The problem for the school districts and for anybody that gets public funds is the not knowing, and then having to work really hard whenever. Say they pass a budget on June 10th. Well, then the governor has a little bit of time to decide if he's going to line item veto anything in that budget. So even when the legislature passes it, you still don't know. Now, he's not going to veto out school funding or that, but if you got special program you're waiting for money, you're sitting on the edge, because sometimes they shock you and they veto something that nobody had a clue that they really didn't like until the 11th hour. The process is messy, but it's wonderful.
Right.
I'm a fan. I think in the end of the day, you got good people up here trying to do the best for the state of Florida, and they're going to bang heads, but in the end of the day, we'll have a budget.
Absolutely. Last question. If these district cuts do come, what's the first thing that districts are going to have to cut?
The first will be not adding new teachers, new hires, because they're going to have, particularly if enrollment's declining, they're going to have to figure out how are they serving with classroom size is put in by the Constitution as well. they have to have a certain number of teachers per classroom. But if you've got, if you're pushing 18 kids, you can't have more than 18 kids in a class, and 14 show up, and you've got 5 of those, that means you're going to lose a teacher somewhere. So first, it's not hiring new teachers, but then what do you do with your less than senior teachers? Who do you keep? Who do you lose? And maybe with all the development going on in Florida, I mean, that's another factor that we really don't talk about that much. How many new kids are going to move in?
Right.
It's shocking to me that Florida has 23.5 million people, and yet our public school system's declining enrollment. It's a lot of families coming in here making a choice to go somewhere else. If I were on a school board or a school superintendent, I'd be really focusing on my region to find out, what are the people thinking? Why are they doing what they're doing? Why, if they've left me, why are they leaving me? If that's
Right.
their plans, what's making them go? What can I do better to entice them to stay?
Right.
You're not seeing that. You're just not seeing it. It's
Right.
like we're in this machine that just rolls along, and everybody's just rolling along with it, going, "Oh my, we're not getting enough money now." Oh,
Right.
but you got a plan.
Exactly. And be competitive and
Yeah,
see what's working and what's not working and try to get better.
yeah,
And that's what any good, I mean, people have been critical of me over the years when I say this, but education is still a business.
yes,
It's still an industry where you have to make dollars and cents work. You have to have a balanced budget. You have to, look at the demand out there and what actually works. And if your product isn't great, you're going to go out of business, as you should. And frankly, kids are the ones that are going to suffer if your school is not doing well, if it's not performing well. So it's not just like, oh, you're not making a great product or you're not delivering a great service. Like, no, these children are impacted forever because you can't get your act together. So I think that this just isn't about numbers. It's not just about the budget. It's about real decisions that are affecting real people, like teachers and families and students and Americans that are going to one day be involved in civics and be business owners and all those things. And so it really has a huge trickle down effect. So Dr. Moore, thank you so much for being with us today. This has been a great discussion, and we will continue to follow the story as it develops. Thank you for joining us on the Florida Daily Show today. And again, you can subscribe to our show, floridadaily.com, at floridadaily.com, and click on the YouTube channel and subscribe and follow us and see Dr. Moore. He'll be coming on very soon with us. So thank you so much.
We'll probably be talking about this same topic.
We will. We definitely will. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Moore. And thank you so much to all of our subscribers and our audience today.